Welcome back to the Michael K. Show. Always look forward to talking with our next guest. How could you not like Jeff Passan? It's like the old line from the Seinfeld series where Jerry's mom is watching him on TV when they have the pilot on, and she goes, "How could you not love him?" That's how Jeff Passan is to me and to everyone. He covers baseball for ESPN, and now he talks with us. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for the kind introduction. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's so true, too. It really is. You know how I feel about you.
Mutual, my friend. And
Nice.
It's good to be on the new, what's the right way to put it?
Solo vehicle?
Yeah, I was going to say solo. I could have said solo, but I was going to say you got rid of separating the wheat from the chaff.
Oh, wow. That's going to come up on the show coming up. Wow. You shouldn't go there because they'll get mean. All right, Jeff, what is happening with Pete Alonso? Has Scott Boras pushed Steve Cohen too far?
No, it's saber rattling. It's posturing at this point because I look. Do I think Pete Alonso is going to wind up a New York Met? I don't know. But what I can say is that the New York Mets need Pete Alonso more than any other team out there right now needs him. They need him for protection in the lineup for Juan Soto. They need him because, frankly, they do not have a good enough offense right now. And they need him because, honestly, when you have a guy who has the history that Pete Alonso does with the New York Mets and the contract structure is not absurd, which at this point it is certainly not, it just makes too much sense for it not to happen. Now, there's a possibility that another team, I don't know who it is at this point, maybe it's the Los Angeles Angels, maybe it's the Toronto Blue Jays, whoever it may be, steps in and gives him the sort of money that the Mets are not willing to. But the longer this thing plays out, the more it feels like a return just makes sense for everybody involved.
Well, let me give you my thought on it and see if you agree. If the reports are true that the Mets were at 68 to 70 for 3 years and that Alonso wanted 3 for 75, that's, again, if they're true, that screams to me, Jeff, the Mets just don't want him. I mean, you could value somebody at a certain price, but if you really want the guy, as you said, and they need protection for Soto, what does $5 million mean to the New York Mets? So I understand the saber rattling. I have never heard an owner be that blunt the way that Steve Cohen was at the Met event. It just makes me seem like I don't know if there's a middle ground there, if they're both going to dig in like they have.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unreasonable perspective to have at this point. And look, nobody's happy where things are at right now. But let's also acknowledge, Michael, that this is a negotiation. And in negotiation, there are moments when the sides get pissed off at each other. That's just something that inevitably happens in almost every negotiation, in almost every walk of life. Rarely do you come to a place where both sides are happy without a little bit of fighting and without a little bit of consternation. So I think once the sides cool down a little bit, there will likely be more substantive discussion about this because, again, I keep getting back to this, because the fit is right. Pete Alonso doesn't want to go play on a team that's not going to be in contention. He's done that enough in his tenure with the Mets. And he's 30 years old now. And so it's time to start winning. It's time to go get a ring. You're not getting a ring with the Angels. You're probably not getting a ring, let alone a playoff spot with the Blue Jays. The Mets, on the other hand, you put Pete Alonso in that lineup, and they are every bit as formidable as the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies in that division. Without him, though, I think the Mets are the third best team.
It's interesting, though, because teams start reporting on February 11th, February 12th. Is there a line in the sand that you say, okay, now I'm concerned he's not going to be back with the Mets?
No, and I think that's more because of the history, right? We saw this last year. Spring training starts, and Cody Bellinger's not signed, and Blake Snell's not signed, and Jordan Montgomery's not signed. Like there are guys who Scott Boras is willing to take into spring training without a contract. Now, you go and look at somebody like Snell or Matt Chapman. They both came out and had really good years despite this. On the other hand, Bellinger was just sort of and opted back into his deal before getting traded to the Yankees, and Montgomery was terrible. So, there are different routes that this can go, but I don't think there's a hard deadline at this point. I think that Pete Alonso right now is just trying to make the best of a situation that's gone sideways, and the Mets are trying to act like a responsible baseball team and not one that's going to go out there just shoveling cash right and left to try and bring guys in and build a team that's just average. This is a much more disciplined, Michael, New York Mets team.
No, I find that interesting, but isn't the Mets' strength the wallet of Steve Cohen, though? Aren't you taking away his strength?
Yeah, but at some point, it's like, are we spending just to spend and just to use that advantage? And I suppose the answer there could be yes, because I think that's precisely what the Los Angeles Dodgers are doing right now. And I'm not sure if you read what I wrote last week, Michael, on the subject of the Dodgers, but well, thank you. I appreciate that. For those who didn't, though, and I think this ties back into the Mets, let's look at baseball writ large right now. You have a bunch of teams out there that have holes who should be signing guys and improving their teams, right? Just free agents. But there are restrictions, whether it's the competitive balance tax or luxury tax, whether it's draft pick compensation that you have to give up for signing free agents who have been offered the qualifying offer, whatever it is, there are restrictions in place that ostensibly should limit spending across the game, right? The problem is there are teams, and maybe this isn't a problem, but maybe this is a sign that it's not working. There are teams like the Dodgers and like the Mets that say these restrictions are not harsh enough to stop us from spending because we feel like the dollars we're putting out there are more valuable than the penalties that we get for spending. And when you have that, where a vast majority of teams are slowed down by those penalties in place, but you have a couple of teams that are willing to spend past them, that's where you get the large gap in payrolls and the large gap seemingly in the team's talent with the Dodgers and everyone else right now. And so, yeah, I think the Dodgers have made a calculated play here, Michael. They said if everyone else is going to be scared off by spending, we should spend even more than we would have to heighten that gap between us and those other teams. And if you want to argue that that's what the Mets should be doing too, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing at all.
But with the Dodgers doing what they're doing, I just look across town from the Mets at the Yankees. And the Yankees have always had a high payroll, but they seem insistent they are not going over the Cohen luxury tax this year. That's why they're going in with a giant question mark at third base or second, whichever way you want to look at it. So, and one of the reasons I've always heard is because the penalties are so tough. With
they're not.
How do Yankees talk to their fans?
They're not. Well, I think that's the point. If the penalties are so tough, then why are the Dodgers and Mets doing it?
Well, the Mets aren't over yet. Again, they might.
Yeah, but they have been. They have been the last 2 years.
Right.
So they have shown a willingness to go there. And at the end of the day, like, Michael, these are the New York freaking Yankees. If a luxury tax threshold is impeding them, that says more about where they are than it does the luxury tax itself.
Well, I don't think
when have the Yankees ever played third fiddle in baseball? That's where they are right now when it comes to spending.
But the question is, I don't think that the 110% tax, because this would be the third time they're over it, is what's affecting them. Right. They keep talking about the draft picks and the foreign money and stuff like that. But you're saying that that's not as onerous as it's made out to be.
Don't get me wrong; it is onerous. But if you have trust in your scouting staff, if you have trust in your development staff, if you have shown the ability to produce major league caliber prospects out of your minor league system, then yeah, I think you look at those and you say it impedes us, but it doesn't stop us. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but I'm okay having more difficulty on the minor league level if my big league team is better. Because when the big league team is better, man, people want to join you. Like, look at what the Dodgers are doing right now, Michael. They're not paying absurd amounts for any of the guys that they're signing. They're not going over market value on any of the guys they're saying. I mean, let's look at their whole roster right now. Mookie Betts, under market deal. Shohei Ohtani, the best deal in all of baseball, despite the fact that it's $700 million. Like, the best value, period. Freddie Freeman, under market deal, just this winter. Teoscar Hernandez at $66 million, market price. Tanner Scott at $18 million a year, market price. They paid a lot for Yamamoto. They were maybe a little bit over on Blake Snell, but everybody could have had Blake Snell cheap last winter. They chose not to. They paid a little bit over on Tyler Glasnow, but by and large, this is a team that has been constructed with guys wanting to come there because they believe they have a better chance to win a championship. So if you are the New York Yankees and you're consistent every year in being in the ALCS, in making the World Series, you're not going to have to overpay for guys at that point. I think you can save money on the back end by spending more on the front end.
Now, the rebuttal from them, if I could serve that, would be,
Please.
You know what? We're the best team in the American League with what we've done. And then it's just a crapshoot in the best of 7 against any team in the National League. Do you buy that they're the best team in the American League?
I think they're in the mix. The American League is just kind of middling now. I mean, if we look at it, the Orioles haven't done a whole lot, like Charlie Morton, Tyler O'Neill, Tomoyuki Sugano. It's not the guy that they needed to replace Corbin Burns. Boston is a demonstrably better team, but they were 500 last year. And I think the Red Sox in 2026 are going to be terrifying because by then Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer are likely to be up complementing this group that has Garrett Crochet and added Walker Buehler as well this year. But this year, yeah, I think the Red Sox are like a borderline playoff team. The Rays are going to be good. They're going to be better. The Blue Jays right now, I don't know what the hell they are. In the Central, does Cleveland scare you? Does Kansas City? Does Detroit? Does Minnesota? Not really. No. And out west, Houston traded its best player in Kyle Tucker. Seattle hasn't done crap. Texas has gotten better. And I think the Rangers, who remember won the World Series 2 years ago, they're a threat. But the American League right now is so wide open that, yeah, the Yankees can say that they're the best, but I don't think they stack up certainly not to the Dodgers. And you can make an argument that the Phillies are better than them, the Braves are better than them. The Diamondbacks, after adding Corbin Burns, are right there, if not better than them. Like, a lot of National League teams have supremacy over the American League right now, Michael.
I would agree. I think the American League has turned into the NBA's Eastern Conference, and I mean that's just the way it is. But all you have to do is get out of that league and go to the World Series. So you mentioned all the teams in the National League that could be better. You only have to beat one of them in the World Series, right?
No doubt. And at the same time, though, and the thing that gives me hope that Major League Baseball is not going to turn into this sport where the same team is winning every year. And listen, as somebody who lives in Kansas City and is a season ticket holder, I'm perfectly fine with the Kansas City Chiefs being that. But for the health of an overall sport, that's not a good thing. I think that the playoffs in baseball are such an equalizer, Michael. You know that the best team doesn't always get out of the division series, right, let alone the league championship series, because in baseball, it's not whether you're better or worse, it's whether you're hot or cold. And you just got to get hot at the right time, and there's really no predicting that. The Yankees got hot at the right time last year, and then they got cold at the wrong time, and that's how you lose a World Series in 5 games.
Here's my biggest concern, because I love the sport so much, and I assume that you do as well because you make your living in it. I just think that there's such a separation between the Dodgers and others, and forget about the Yankees and the Phillies and the Mets, but just the others, just the teams that don't spend like that and can't, that this is going to lead to a work shutdown where the owners are going to insist on a salary cap where every other league has it, every other league is thriving. Do you see it the same way? And also, do you see that other owners are going to force Major League Baseball to have a draft of Japanese players rather than all of them going to the Dodgers?
Well, I'm not sure, first off, that every other league is thriving necessarily due to a salary cap. Let's acknowledge that the other three major men's professional sports in North America all have had work stoppages more recently than Major League Baseball, right?
Yes.
Let's look at the revenue in Major League Baseball, up to $12 or $13 billion a year. And the question for players is, are we getting our rightful cut? And I also don't think that a salary cap is necessarily the thing that brings parity to Major League Baseball. Now, I get that the Dodgers have an unfair advantage because of their revenues, but let's also look at revenues versus spending. The Dodgers are willing to put their money where their mouth is. They're willing to go out there and spend on players. And that is something that, not only in a place like Baltimore or Tampa or Pittsburgh or Colorado, like there are plenty of organizations that do not go out there and spend comparative to their revenues. So I think this is as much a system issue and an owner issue as it is a Dodgers issue. The Dodgers are just taking advantage of the rules that are on the table right now. And if you want to argue, Michael, that the rules that are on the table right now are not conducive to a healthy league, I don't entirely disagree with you. But I also don't think the rejoinder from Major League Baseball, which is going to be we need more restrictions on the top, necessarily correspond with a healthier league. I feel like if you're going to put more restrictions on the top, you better put more incentives on the bottom for those teams to go out and spend, because a healthy league is one in which all 30 teams are participating and trying to win. And a lot of these teams right now looking at the Dodgers saying we feel like we can't compete with them. Well, maybe actually try to compete. And then we can see if that's the case. And if that's the case, then yeah, you're going to need to change the rules. You're going to need to change revenue sharing. You're going to need to do things to find that balance that is so difficult to strike. But Michael, there's not going to be a salary cap. We're going to lose a year of baseball if that's the line in the sand that Major League Baseball is drawing. It's as simple as that. And I think there's just too much money for everyone to make to let the pursuit of a salary cap stand in the way of the success of this sport long term.
Well, just before you came on, I made this point. The Bills and the Chiefs drew 57.7 million viewers on CBS on Sunday. The Bills could not exist in Major League Baseball, and this is nearer to where you are. The Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, could not be great for 7 years in a row. The system doesn't allow it. They would not be able to pay all their players to do it.
I disagree with you on that. I think they can. I think it's just more difficult. We can't say the Bills would exist, by the way, Michael. Like, come on.
Buffalo? Buffalo
Yes,
would have a team in Major League Baseball? Green Bay would have a team in Major League Baseball?
Yes, I think that places that have passionate fan bases can have teams in Major League Baseball.
But they wouldn't get money from a regional television network, Jeff.
Well, and that's part of this, right? The disparity between television networks.
Yes.
And it's not just the Dodgers, it's the Yankees, it's the Mets, it's the Cubs, it's the Red Sox. It's all these teams that own and operate successful regional sports networks, whereas the rest of the regional sports network industry has had the bottom drop out from under it because of cord cutting. And MLB right now, if there is an existential crisis that it's facing, it is how do we operate fairly when there's such a disparity in television contracts. And look, Rob Manfred has said explicitly he wants a 30-team package. He wants every team to be involved in this. But if you're the New York Yankees, why the hell would you say yes to that?
Right, or the Dodgers or the Mets.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you give up what you have right now? So if there's a fight that's going to be going on, it's not just between Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association, Michael. There's going to be some internecine warfare on the owner side as well, because they are going to be clawing and scrapping for every dollar they can in what's going to be one of the most important negotiations that there's been in baseball in decades, which is how do you figure out how to solve this television crisis?
And that's why I feel that any negotiation between the Players Association and Major League Baseball is the toughest because, as you said, it's not just the owners against the players. It's the owners against the owners against the players. Pittsburgh wants what the Yankees have, and the Yankees aren't going to give that up.
No doubt. And the Yankees, the Yankees understandably don't want to give that up. They have built something. And look, you could have a failure in a big market. If they did not build out as well as they have, then it's going to fail. We've seen that with other regional sports networks before, but the Yankees have done a good job of leveraging this property that they built from the ground up. And now you're going to come to them and say, because you've been successful, you have to give more money to these teams that have shown an unwillingness to compete, and just pocketing their profits. It's a ridiculous conceit. And so if there need to be more strictures in place in order to hold the Pirates and the Marlins and the A's and these other teams that don't go out and spend accountable, then you should do it. But beyond that, Michael, let's look not just at the teams at the lower level, but let's look at the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs. These are teams with high revenues that still are not spending right now.
Right.
And Tom Ricketts coming out and saying it's hard to compete with the Dodgers, playing with the world's tiniest violin. I do not want to hear about the poor Chicago Cubs. Stop it. Stop trying to treat us like we're stupid. We're not. We understand how this thing goes. And if you want to use the Dodgers as an excuse, that just makes you look smaller and even worse than you are.
Jeff, I don't know if we're talking with Jeff Passan here on the Michael K. Show. You know what the key to the success of the Yes Network was, right? Their play-by-play guy.
Michael K. on play-by-play, of course.
It's really, really important. People don't realize that, but at least you do. You're so smart, and you get it. You get it.
Perceptiveness, Michael.
Bregman end up back with the Astros, you think?
If you gave me $1 and said I have to bet it, yeah, probably. But it's by no means a fait accompli at this point. And I also wonder what it does to the Astros. Like, are you telling me that Isaac Paredes at second base and Jose Altuve in left field with the Crawford boxes out there is a good idea defensively? I don't know about that, man. And so the possibility of Bregman moving to second base, I think that's out there, and I think that probably, if he resigns there, would be the better move. But at this point, Toronto needs something. They need someone. Anthony Santander is not enough. So I'm going to keep the window open there for Bregman. I don't think Boston's particularly likely to happen at this point. Detroit makes a lot of sense just in terms of young team, leadership, relationship between Bregman and A.J. Hinch as former manager in Houston. That part, though, it's not very conducive to his swing. So I think at the end of the day, Houston probably makes the most sense for him. But if he's not going to take the 6 for 156 on the table, is Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, going to budge? At this point, he's shown absolutely no likelihood to do so.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a budge guy. Final thing, are the Padres really considering trading King or Cease?
Yeah, I think that it's a possibility, but let's also remember their general manager is A.J. Preller, and he considers everything a possibility. The Padres, it's a sad state of affairs there right now. Peter Seidler, if he were still alive right now, I think there's a really solid chance he would have signed Juan Soto long-term in San Diego.
Right.
Like, it's kind of wild to think about what Peter Seidler's very untimely and early death, what sort of demonstrable effect it had on the course of Major League Baseball history, because the Padres were ready to go all in on everything under him. He wanted to win. End of story. And now instead, his wife and his brothers are in a fight over the ownership of the team right now. They haven't signed a single player this winter. They missed out on Roki Sasaki, who they've spent years and years courting. and hoping that he was going to come to San Diego. And instead, of course, he goes to the Dodgers. And now I think they're just trying to figure out how to put together the best team, not just for 2025, but beyond. And when your two best pitchers in Michael King and Dylan Cease are both free agents after this season, you have to at very least consider, if you're looking toward the future, moving one of them and seeing what you can do. So is it a possibility? Yes. Is it going to happen? Far too premature to say so.
Jeff, great stuff. I could talk to you for hours, but that's not fair to you. So I thank you for coming on for the time that you have. Appreciate it.
I would enjoy a multi-hour conversation, Michael. We'll have to do that sometime. I'll come in and be the special guest.
I'd love it. Tell me when you're in New York. Let's do it.
Looking forward to it. See you, pal.
All right. Be good, Jeff. That's Jeff Passan. Great stuff from him. Hey, it's Superbox Bonanza 6, and your chance to get your box for the big game with a prize pool of $2,000. All qualifiers will get an ESPN prize pack and a chance at one of 10 Superbox prizes. Listen daily through February 6th to DPHO and Rothenberg, Bart and Carlin, the Michael K. Show, and Don Hahn and Rosenberg. This year's big game payouts are $250 in the first and the third quarters, $500 at halftime, and a final score payout of $1,000. All brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey and Sloman Security. For full contest details, go to superboxbonanza.com. All right, now it's time for the co-hosts to join me, 1-800-919-3776. That's the number. I talk with you the rest of the way. Super Bowl 59. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who'll take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200 when you make your first bet. Just place a $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com/K and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
So it's a new year, 2025, and you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? The best time to start your new business is right now, and Shopify is how you're going to make it happen. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to the idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/network, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/network to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/network.
If you wear glasses, you know how hard it is to find the perfect pair. But step into a Warby Parker store and you'll see it doesn't have to be. Not only will you find a great selection of frames, you'll also meet helpful advisors and friendly optometrists. Yep, many Warby Parker locations also offer eye exams. So the next time you need glasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, or a new prescription, you know where to look. To find a Warby Parker store near you or to book an eye exam, head over to warbyparker.com/retail.
Grainger knows space at your facility is limited. As a maintenance specialist, you only have so many spots for backup products in your inventory roster, which means space on your bench comes at a premium. Well, when it comes to breadth and depth, Grainger's got you covered. They've got over 1 million industrial-grade products. Plus, fast delivery helps reduce the inventory you need to keep on hand, freeing up space and capital while giving your operation a winning edge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by a local branch.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast.